With the citizens of Durotar assisted and the evils beneath Orgrimmar vanquished, we're sent off into new, hostile lands to assist the Horde's forces in the Barrens. The story of the Wailing Caverns shapes the overarching narrative of the Barrens. The evils deep within and mysteries spilling forth from the mouth of the caverns has affected the very land here and caused strange happenings all throughout the savanna. Arriving at the Crossroads, we find the Horde forces there have been met by a series of strange occurrences. We report to the Crossroads Overseer, Sergra Darkthorn, and she tasks us to earn our keep within the Horde by assisting in culling some of the local wildlife. The native Planestriders have been harassing the Crossroads food supplies to the east, and Sergra tasks us with cutting the creatures down and returning 7 of their beaks as proof of our service. Another orc, Gazrog, explains his surprise and frustration in dealing with the native fauna of the Barrens. A shipment of silver, intended as payroll for the Crossroads guards, was stolen away in the night. The Crossroads forces gave pursuit and managed to capture one of the thieves. But to their surprise, the culprit was a raptor. Enraged, Gazrog asked us to cull the beasts, returning with 12 of their heads. We'll find Gazrog is not the only one intrigued by the intelligence of the local beasts. Adjacent to the Flight Master, we meet Apothecary Helbrim, a forsaken apothecary sent here to investigate the strange occurrences the Horde has observed taking place in the flora and fauna of the Barrens. Helbrim requests some spore samples from the mushrooms that can be found growing around the pools in each of the Barrens' oases. Nearby, we meet Thork, who has been tasked with defending the Horde forces here from the Quillboar which ravaged the land. We were able to assist him while gathering the materials to craft our warrior weapon, and we'll explore the Quillboar threat more thoroughly as we prepare to journey into the brambles of Razorfen Kraul. For now, we'll head to the southeast of the camp and talk with Tonga Runetotem. The times we live in are as fickle as the shifting winds, warrior. It is important to remember what is true and lasting in this world, and to preserve that. Everything else is a waste. Long ago, the Barrens was a lush place, teeming with life, but war and cataclysm raged across the land, scorching it and leaving a dry husk. Such is the way of things, and it saddens my heart. But within the past few years, new oases have formed in the Barrens, and life stirs. And deep down, we Druids sense a power leaking its way to the surface. We must find its source, travel to the Forgotten Pools northwest of the Crossroads, search its waters for a source of power, then return here. Following the cobblestone pathway west out of the Crossroads, we look out across the northern Barrens. Much of what we explored so far are large swaths of dry, windswept plains. A somewhat less hostile land than Durotar, but what foliage does take root is parched by the relentless heat of the sun beating down on the land. Trees are few and far between. Many of them we pass stripped of their canopies and now just dried, withered logs protruding from the landscape. But as we travel farther west, we see a strange sight in the distance. Just on the horizon. Are those palm trees? Tropical plant life in the middle of this hostile environment? Perhaps there is some truth to the whispers we've heard of the strange occurrences taking place here. Before heading north to investigate, we notice an orcish outpost along the path we have been traveling. Heading inside the nearest burrow, we report to the commander here. Regthar Deathgate has been tasked with suppressing the centaur forces here. He tells us of the beast's long history of tormenting the Tauren, and expresses his concern at the Kolkur tribe's current operations within the Barrens. Their assaults on Horde territory have been more organized of late, and Regthar suspects a recent upcoming of new centaur leaders are to blame. The orc tasks us with eliminating a centaur known as Barak Kodobane to the north, and collecting bracers from the beast as we cut through their camps. And with an abundance of quests before us, we venture north to investigate the Forgotten Pools. Traveling further northwest as Tonga instructed, more of the Forgotten Pools comes into view. We find the sight more surprising than our allies at the Crossroads led us to believe. Here, amongst the hostile environment of the Barrens, is a sanctuary of tropical plant life. Lush green flora covers the land, and beasts of all sorts meander through the oasis, subsisting off the plentiful growth here. The centaur as well have erected campsites all around the oasis, plundering the resources that could be of great value to the Horde. Before heading deeper into the Forgotten Pools, we investigate the largest of the centaur structures to the north, built on a hillside just west of the oasis. Several centaurs stand beneath the structure, but one stands out amongst their forces. A much larger beast, his neck adorned with a string of bones, and bearing more armor than his kin. This must be their leader, Barak Kodobane. We charge into battle against him and another centaur standing guard at the edge of the camp. The cowards attempt to trap us using their hunting nets and retreat to take aim with their bows, just out of reach of our blade. Cutting ourselves free, we deflect their arrows with our shield and march forward to strike down the beasts. Once again, Barak attempts to entangle us and escape, but as the coward turns to flee, a final blow from our sword strikes the centaur leader down. Finishing off his lackey, we return to Barak Kodobane's corpse and liberate his head from his body. A mighty trophy of our victory and a symbol for Regthar to display at the Orc outpost, striking fear into any centaur foolish enough to assault the Horde. With the centaur leadership here defeated, we can continue our journey into the heart of the nearby oasis. On the outskirts of the oasis, we come across a patrolling centaur sorceress. She's quickly dispatched, her spellcasting interrupted by a well-placed shield dash. Unfortunately, she is not wearing any of the centaur's distinctive bracers, so she won't count towards the bounty set by Regthar. While completing our warrior trials, we gathered the planestrider beak Segra desired, and she now tasks us with collecting zebra hooves to prove our prowess in battle. Noticing the nearby beast, we attack and cut it down. Upon its defeat, we find the zebra to be among the many we defeat who do not have any hooves to harvest. It seems we'll have to defeat quite a few of these four-legged beasts before we manage to gather 4 suitable hooves. Near to the site of our battle, we find an enormous blue mushroom. Remembering the Crossroads apothecary's request, we stop to harvest some spores from the magnificent specimen. Rounding the hill nearby, we see a large pool of water forms the center of the oasis here. The plant life, even more lush and dense as we near the edge of the water. On the very edge of the pool, we see another cluster of the large blue mushrooms and take the time to gather another sample for our apothecary friend. Walking along the coastline, we come across one of the Horde's mightiest adventurers enjoying some leisure here at the Forgotten Pools. It makes sense there'd be an abundant, perhaps unique fish here, as the Barrens' oases had proven a boon to all manner of other wildlife in the Barrens. Saluting our druid friend with respect, we dive into the pool, searching for the very center of the oasis, and a potential source of energy, as Tonga requested. At the center of the bottom of the pool, at the very center of the oasis, we come across a strange fissure, a constant stream of bubbles pouring forth from deep underground. As we near the fissure, we find ourselves invigorated by the bubbling waters. The flow from beneath the oasis so strong we no longer need to hold our breath. Surely Tonga will be intrigued by our findings here. We take final notes of the fissure and our surroundings, and continue on the other quests our Crossroads allies asked of us. Breaching the surface of the pool, we notice some more fungi samples around the coast, and gather the last of the samples the apothecary requested. As we do, our druid friend swims over and blesses us with some of his nature magics. We thank our friend for the buff, and with fungal spores, oasis knowledge, and a centaur's head in hand, we head back to our allies to report on our findings. Regthar is thrilled by our presentation of Barak Kodobane's head. Explaining that most of the centaur are unintelligent, brutish beasts, he thanks us for dispatching any among them displaying the vision or wit for leadership. Regthar proudly displays the trophy on one of the many spikes fortifying his burrow, and turns to us with a new task in mind. The centaur Verog the Dervish wanders the Barrens and will be difficult to find, but he is based at the centaur command tent at the Stagnant Oasis to the southeast. It may be possible to draw him to you. Travel to the Stagnant Oasis to the southeast, and attack centaur near the command tent. It will be dangerous, but if you can kill enough centaur, then they should raise an alarm, and Verog will come. Bring me his head, and I will place it with Barak Kodobane's. Before we venture southeast to the Stagnant Oasis, we stop back at the Crossroads to update our allies. Apothecary Hellbrim is pleased with his samples, and prepares a tincture for his following researchers in Thunderbluff. This is a bit out of our way for now, and the spores do have a short shelf life, so we'll leave them with the apothecary for now. Reporting to Tonga with news of our discovery at the Forgotten Pools. You found a fissure in the earth with gases bubbling from it? Strange. This may be an answer to our questions, but we cannot yet be sure. But it is a clue, and I am grateful that you found it. Like the one you found at the Forgotten Pools, there may be fissures at the other oases in the Barrens. If so, then perhaps the fissures are the oasis's source of life. We must test this. Here, take these seeds. They are dead and infertile, but take them to the Stagnant Oasis to the southeast. If there is a fissure there, then place the seeds within it, and observe. Tonga believes we'll find similar fissures like the one we found at the Forgotten Pools at the center of the other oases that have sprung up around the Crossroads. He gives us a handful of dried out seeds, long dead and infertile, to expose to the fissures beneath the waters of the Stagnant Oasis. Could the powers bubbling forth from these oases really be enough to revive dead seeds? To give life? Fascinating implications if so. With such a grand experiment to be conducted, we march southeast towards the Stagnant Oasis. We do not have to travel very far before we see the lush plant life of the oasis in the distance. Along our path, we see that, here too, the landscape is dotted with centaur camps. We will have to be wary of their patrols and outrunners. The centaur are known to attack on sight. And as Regthar warned, we keep our eye out for their leader, Verog the Dervish. We also find many zebra wandering the savannah. We dispatch a few along our path, hoping to loot some of those ever-elusive hooves Sergra requested of us. And as we approach the sharp border between the savannah and oasis land, we spy one of those crafty raptors that Gazrog has found so troublesome. We'll cut it down and add its head to our collection. Venturing towards the center of the oasis, we sidestep some of the centaur roaming the area, and find that, here too, at the heart of the oasis, lies a pool of deep blue water. Cutting a path through the dense foliage, we dive into the waters and swim towards the very center of the Stagnant Oasis. We find the waters here crawling with large blue snapping turtles. Nearly the same shade as the strange overgrown fungi that we found at both oases. It seems not just the plant life is being affected by whatever powers are radiating from these oases. As we approach the center of the pool, we do in fact find another bubbling fissure, just the same as we found at the Forgotten Pools. Before we conduct our experiment with the seeds, the nearby turtles prove aggressive. Dispatching our foe, we can return to the fissure. Retrieving the dead seeds Tonga provided from our bag, we bury each one in the fertile soil surrounding the fissure. And, in no time at all, strange plants burst forth from the ground. What? Not only were the forces here able to revive the seeds, but they instantly sprouted into thriving plant life. Gathering some of the plants, we find them teeming with life and energy. The Tauren at the Crossroads will certainly want to hear of this. With our test conducted, we emerge from the lake bed, dispatching another of the mutated turtles that attacks us. Before we return to the Horde city, we owe it to Regthar to seek out the centaur leader that oversees the beasts around the oasis. The orc mentioned the leader is not often sighted in the open, but cutting down enough of his lackeys should draw out the coward. Approaching one of the centaur camps, we find them utilizing another of Chen's empty kegs for storage. We're already actually on this quest, having found one of these strange barrels on our journey to Dreadmist Peak, but we have seen these kegs scattered all throughout the Barrens. Traveling with one of the empty kegs, an orc in the port city of Ratchet recognized the symbols on it and shared some old stories with us about a mysterious bear-like creature that is rumored to have journeyed alongside Regthar, a great hunter of the Mach Nathal, and assisted in the Horde's efforts to establish a home here in Kalimdor. It's said that the owner of these kegs, Chen Stormstout, was known to imbibe in a variety of custom brews throughout his journeys, and the orc and Ratchet offered to share his recipes with us. Fortunately, we can harvest most of the necessary ingredients from the beasts we have already been tasked with dispatching by our allies at the Crossroads. So we'll be leaving this additional empty keg here. Circling around the oasis, we'll keep our eyes peeled for the Centaur's command tent and any sign of their leader. Coming across some more raptors, we're sure to put them down. Another taste of revenge for Gazrog. As we come to the mountains southwest of the Stagnant Oasis, we see a tent in the distance, built into the hillside and resembling the same structure where we slew Barak Kodobane. If our previous experience is any indication, this should be where we find Verog. As we near the tent, we find two centaur guarding the path forward, and, in the distance, we see another adventurer battling against these beasts. As we dispatch the guard we engage, he cries out for his master. No sooner than the centaur cried out, Verog the Dervish appears, crying out, "I am summoned! Intruders, come to my tent and face your death!" Before we rush into battle against the centaur leader, we call to our fellow member of the Horde for assistance. But the Tauren is a little slow. He watches us charge into battle and then flees, clearly intimidated by the large centaur beast. However, we are able to cut down Verog ourselves, without trouble, and we once again take the leader's head as a trophy. And with that, our duties at the Stagnant Oasis are fulfilled. Spying some more raptors between us and the Crossroads, we gather their heads for Gazrog and continue on our way to report back to Tonga with our miraculous findings. What implications does this seemingly magical revival of those seeds hold for the Horde forces here in the Barrens? Your findings are amazing. The seeds I gave you were dried and dead. Whatever rests under these oases can create life from nothing. We must study this more. Your findings are incredible, Nipnik. These oases hold properties that must come from an outside source, or perhaps an inside one. I want to know how these fissures are affecting the beasts who drink from the oasis water. Hunt down oasis snapjaws at the Lushwater and Stagnant Oases. Bring me their shells so I may examine them. Well, Tonga seems just as impressed as us by the miraculous results of our experiment with the Dead Seeds. And just as we thought, also believes the beasts surrounding these oases must also be affected by the power seeping forth from the strange fissures. Before we return to the oases to harvest some of the altered turtle shells, we will check in with our other Horde allies. Having finally gathered our 4 zebra hooves, we find Sergra has prepared yet another test of strength for us. She claims our first real challenge will be to seek out the prowlers amongst the tall grasses of the Barrens, and tasks us with gathering 7 claws from the slain beasts. Hopefully we'll find these prowlers to have more claws per claw than the zebra did hooves per hoof. We have yet to dispatch a dozen raptors as Gazrog requested, so for now we'll head back to Regthar's camp to the east, and spare ourselves from carrying around Verog's severed head any longer. Just as with Barak's head, Regthar is elated to receive this symbol of victory and places it among his collection, pierced through a pike adorning his burrow. With the centaur's lesser lieutenants dispatched, Regthar asks us to go on one final hunt.
Hezrul Bloodmark is the leader of the Kolkar centaur in the Barrens. He is fierce, brutal, and cunning. Defeating him would disrupt and fracture the Kolkars, greatly reducing their threat to us. So kill him. As with Barak and Verog, bring me Hezrul's head. He leads his people from the Lushwater Oasis to the south.
With our new assignments, we'll head south towards the final Barrens anomaly, the Lushwater Oasis. As we travel south, we see some of the taller grasses Sergra mentioned. Savanna prowlers likely to be lurking within. We make a quick detour and dispatch some of the beasts, gathering any intact claws for Sergra, and, remembering the tale of Chen Stormstout, gathering their tusks to help craft a delicious brew. As we charge into battle against a prowler on the outskirts of the grass, another emerges from deeper within, responding to the anguished cries of its brethren. The two beasts put up a fight, but they're no match for one of the Horde's finest. Continuing to the next patch of tall grasses, we dispatch several more of these prowlers. With only a few more tusks and claws required, we follow the prowler's trail and find a gathering of the beasts beneath one of the Barrens' large trees. With all of the necessary loot gathered from the prowlers, we continue towards the Lushwater Oasis, only stopping to off another raptor in our path. As with the other two oases we explored, we find the landscape suddenly transforms into a lush tropical green as we approach the Lushwater Oasis. And also, as we found at the other oases, we see smatterings of centaur camps and forces throughout the landscape. For now, we'll focus on gathering the samples for Tonga from the altered snapjaw turtles. Diving into the pool at the oasis center, we charge into battle with the nearest snapjaw. We struggle a bit with our newest axe. We don't have a lot of experience wielding this type of weapon yet, but eventually we strike down our foe. Keeping an eye on our health and ensuring that we do not stay submerged too long, we continue fighting the snapjaws throughout the pool. As we begin to feel lightheaded, we remember the odd sensation we felt as we approached the fissures at the other oases. Swimming towards the center of the Lushwater Oasis's pool, we yet again find a strange, bubbling fissure. And, as we approach, we feel reinvigorated and have a chance to catch our breath. Refreshed, we continue battling the Oasis Snapjaws, harvesting their shells as we dispatch our foes. Once we've collected 8 samples for Tonga, we leave the pool behind and set our sights on the centaur. Somewhere within this oasis lurks the master of the Kolkar centaur in the northern Barrens, Hezrul Bloodmark. Expecting a challenging foe, we go ahead and equip our sword and shield. Assaulting the head of the Centaur command is no time to experiment with a new fighting style. We'll cut down some of the Centaur scouts we find wandering throughout the oasis as we explore, keeping an eye out for Hezrul. As we come around the northern edge of the oasis's pool, we see an ominous-looking rock face. It almost resembles a skull. Kinda looks like a goblin's head to me. And a chill moves up our spine. The cave seems to radiate some kind of ominous energy. I wonder if this has anything to do with the strange happenings reported throughout the Barrens. But for now, we must continue on our hunt for Hezrul. As we round the pool and charge another centaur, we see 3 heavily armored centaur patrolling. The center centaur leading and quite larger than its kin. I'd wager this is the leader we've been searching for. We take care to ensure we are fully healed and there are no centaur reinforcements nearby. Once the 3 patrolling centaur are isolated, we strike. We rend each of the beasts, causing them to bleed out as we ward off their blows. We quickly dispatch the 2 lesser beasts and then focus on their leader. With the skills we've gained through our warrior training, we make quick work of the foe, striking them down and hacking off yet another of the Kolkar leaders' heads. Fantastic. With another bloody trophy in hand, we march off triumphantly to report our success to Regthar. At this point, we have also dispatched enough of the lesser centaur to turn in the bounty of 15 bracers that Regthar requested. He rewards us with a new bow, and then we present our final trophy to the orc. Regthar commends us for our focus and prowess in battle, and rewards us accordingly, adding this newest trophy to the pikes protecting his burrow, a warning to any centaur foolish enough to assault this camp. This is where we'll leave Regthar for now. There are rumors of a planned centaur assault, but we're not quite ready to ward off such an attack. We'll take time to hone our skills and gather our forces. With the Centaur's leadership dismantled, we return to the Crossroads with news of our triumph over the Prowlers and samples for Tonga. Sergra Darkthorn is pleased by our collection of Prowler claws, and finally entrusts us with her ultimate challenge. She speaks of a great white ghost, a legendary foe that has long tormented the Tauren in these lands, and provides us with a means of luring the beast. We will eradicate this nuisance soon enough. For now, let us report back to Tonga with the shell samples we gathered from the snapjaws we found altered by the Barrens' oases.
Thank you, Nudnik. Studying the beasts of an area can tell much about the area itself. We shall see what tale these shells tell. Please accept my gratitude for your aid, and perhaps you can use these coins. I find that I do not need them. The shells you have brought me have a taint, one I have never seen before. I am certain the water of the oases is the cause, and I can sense the confusion they cause this land. It is as if the land dreams and cannot awake. The Wailing Caverns must be the source of the taint. But before you go there, speak with Hezrul Runetotem, the elder druid. I sent word to him of the happenings in the Barrens. He is wise and can offer you counsel. You will find him in Thunderbluff on the Elder Rise.
We have helped Tonga conduct research at all 3 of the oases that have mysteriously sprung up across the Barrens, and now the Tauren's suspicions point us towards Wailing Caverns. I knew that ominous skull-shaped cavern we passed earlier had to be a bad omen. Well, before we go charging headfirst into the depths of the Wailing Caverns, we have been advised to seek the counsel of the Elder Druids in Thunderbluff. Before we hop on a wyvern bound for Mulgore, we recall our apothecary friend had some samples he needed delivered, so we'll stop by and pick up those rendered spore samples before we take off. Arriving at Thunderbluff's Elder Rise, we find Hezrul Runetotem in the largest structure, surrounded by many of the Tauren's wisest druids. As we approach, the Archdruid seems to be expecting us.
I bid you greetings, Nudnik. You are welcome here, and I suggest you gather all your strength, for the task we now set before you is a dire one. I entered the land of dreams, and dreamed of a cult of druids who dwell in the Wailing Caverns. I saw that their goals were once noble, but they have lost their way. They are now servants of the taint seeping through the Barrens. I am old and my strength fails. I could not long dwell in that dreaming place and know little more of the tainted druids. But Nara is young and her spirit is fierce. She remained dreaming while I fled. Speak with Nara. She is in the tent over yonder.
Heading across the tent, we speak with Nara.
Yes, it is true. I know of the Druids in the Wailing Caverns. I have seen their twisted, scaled faces. I know their crimes, and I know their plans. We must stop them, Nudnik. The Druids of the Wailing Caverns, the Druids of the Fang, are an aberration. They were part of an order of noble Druids whose plan was to heal the Barrens, but now seek to remake that land to match their own twisted dreams. The Druids of the Fang have 4 leaders, and each possesses a dream gem. Even now their faces haunt me. Defeat the leaders and bring me their gems, and the Barrens may again know peace. Go, Nudnik. You will find them lurking deep within the Wailing Caverns.
What terrifying news! Whatever evils await within the Wailing Caverns have twisted the minds of several noble druids. If we can't stop them, those once promised to protect the Barrens will continue to warp the landscape and cause havoc across the land. But before we rush into the caverns to face this evil, we have a package to deliver, and we might as well see if any of our other allies have any business within the Wailing Caverns. Heading across the city to Spirit Rise, we find Apothecary Zama deep in the cavern beneath the bluff. She thanks us for delivering the spore samples from the oasis fungi, but has her sights set on samples from within the Wailing Caverns themselves.
The Royal Apothecary Society, based in the great undercity of Lordaeron, has sent me here for a very specific service, Nodnik. Perhaps you wish to aid me, and in turn, the Dark Lady, in our efforts to advance the Forsaken. Recently, I studied a rare specimen of flora named Serpentbloom. I believe in greater quantities this herb has great potential. Unfortunately, Serpentbloom can only be found in the darkest recesses of the Wailing Caverns, the dangerous cave system located in the Barrens.
Defeat 4 powerful, corrupted druids and bring their Dream Gem artifacts back to Thunderbluff, and gather some plant samples while we're there. Got it. But that's not all that awaits us in the Wailing Caverns. Arriving in the coastal town of Ratchet, we find a goblin amongst a pile of scattered cargo containers, a bit overwhelmed by his duties.
Oops, had a little mishap, as you can see. The morning cargo shipment from Booty Bay was huge, huge I say. Never seen so many crates. Well, I was trying to expedite things, so I started unloading a bit more than I could handle. That's when everything came tumbling down. Before I knew what was going on, I saw that menace, Mad McGlish, go running off with a bottle of 99-year-old port. Chased him all the way to the Wailing Caverns. No way I was going in there. Maybe you're brave enough to find him.
Well, we'll have to seek out this Mad McGlish while venturing through the caverns as well. I do love a nice glass of port, and I can't imagine what a 99-year-old bottle would be worth. As we travel west out of Ratchet, we find another member of the Horde in awe of the local raptor population's intelligence.
The raptors of the Barrens are smarter than raptors in other lands, and I think all that smarts is hiding in their horns. If so, then I could grind their horns into powder and use it to make smart drinks. I could sell them for a fortune. And you can help me. Find me intact raptor horns from the Sunscale Scytheclaws. They roam in the southern Barrens and in the northern Barrens near the border of Ashenvale Forest.
Now it's at this point, if we've assisted a few of our other Horde allies, things in the northern Barrens culminate quite nicely. If we have completed all of Sergra Darkthorn's tasks for us at the Crossroads, taking care of the nuisance Planestriders, proving our strength by battling Zebra and Savanna Prowlers, and besting the mighty Etchiaki, the White Mist of the Barrens, she will send us south on a final test of our bravery. Sergra asks that we best several of the Barrens' tougher raptors towards the southern Barrens, and place their own feathers atop their nests. And if we've satiated Gazrog's lust for revenge and provided him with a dozen raptor heads, he sends us to the raptors' spawning grounds in the southern Barrens to retrieve the stolen shipment of Crossroads silver. Both of these quests pit us against the tougher Sunscale Scytheclaw raptors of the southern Barrens, so we can gather their horns as we complete these other tasks. We find some raptors' nests while walking west of the Stagnant Oasis, and it is here where we can prove our bravery to Sergra by placing the raptors' own feathers atop their eggs. Then, venturing further southeast, we find the spawning grounds of the Scytheclaws, nestled between the mountains. And it is here where the raptors' intelligence garners some of our respect as well. The raptors have established quite a community here. The elaborate structures the raptors create to shelter their young are astounding. They aren't merely nested, but they resemble huts. These raptors are living nicer than some members of the Horde. We sneak our way past many of the raptors, but they are grouped so tightly in this passage that when we do attack, we're forced to take on multiple opponents at once. At the extreme end of the raptor grounds, we sight a glimmering chest, resembling a storage box from the Crossroads, and charge into battle against the nearest raptors on a mission to retrieve the stolen silver. With our bravery proven and the stolen silver retrieved, we off a few more raptors until we collect enough intact horns for our friend back in Ratchet to craft his smart drinks. With all of our plunder in hand, we return to Ratchet and hand over the horns to Mr. Mizyrix. He grinds them down, mixes them with some wine, and takes a swig.
Now let's try it. Ugh, that's terrible. Okay, so the raptor horns didn't work out well, but that's alright. No one got rich on their first try. And besides, I think I found something that'll work even better in my smart drinks. There's a substance called Wailing Essence, and I think it's the cause of the strange plants and animals in the Barrens. Give me some, and I'll try it in my drink. I heard the essence gathers in ectoplasmic creatures in the Wailing Caverns to the west. Hunt those creatures and gather the essence.
And we find ourselves with another fetch quest within the Wailing Caverns. I feel the goblins here are starting to undermine the importance of defeating the great evil within, but hey, if we can scrounge up a little extra profit while we save the Barrens from certain doom, why not? And with that, we can march off towards the Lushwater Oasis and into the depths of the Wailing Caverns. But as we approach the caverns, we hear some bustling coming from within one of the smaller exterior caverns at the face of the cave. Climbing up and scaling down into the portion of the cave resembling the right eye socket, we find a small camp has been established just above the cavern's entrance. As we approach, we see their garb resembles that of the Druids in Thunderbluff. Perhaps these are the remnants of the initial band of Druids that entered the Wailing Caverns. Approaching the camp, we can speak with the Night Elf and Tauren huddled by the warmth of their campfire.
Naralex had a noble goal. Our great leader aspired to enter the Emerald Dream and help regrow these harsh lands back into the lush forest it once was, but something went terribly wrong. Naralex's dream turned into a nightmare, and corrupt creatures began to inhabit the caverns. While some disciples of Naralex seek to awake our master, my concern is with ridding these caves of evil beasts. Brave the caverns, Nunnik, and eradicate the deviant spawn.
As the Night Elf finishes, the Tauren speaks.
As Naralex descended deeper into his nightmare, a strange breed of beasts arose from beneath the Barrens into the Wailing Caverns. These deviant creatures have strange, otherworldly properties. While evil in nature, it is my opinion that some good can come from their existence here in Kalimdor. I believe their hides will be of particular use in the ways of leatherworking. If you feel up to the task, venture into the caves below and retrieve some deviant hides.
And with that, we are actually finally ready to venture into the Wailing Caverns. Of course, we first need to gather a band of adventurers to assist us with such a grandiose task. But within, we'll fight the twisted, deviant creatures that have spawned there, gather samples of plants and slime, retrieve a stolen bottle of port, and strike down the corrupted druids that have been lost within the Emerald Nightmare, and perhaps discover the fate of the druid leader Naralex. We will battle the evils within the Wailing Caverns in an upcoming video, but for now, I want to say thank you for watching. Nearing 100 subscribers is pretty awesome, and way more than I thought these videos would garner. Did you like this longer video encompassing the Northern Barrens quests, or did I glance over some of your favorite early Horde quests? I was debating doing 3 videos centered around each oasis, so I appreciate any feedback below. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe if you want to be alerted to the next video when we venture into the mystery of the Wailing Caverns.